Derek Brunson versus Kevin Holland. I think one of the big things that Kevin Holland would probably take away from that fight would be basically you keep your mouth shut and you concentrate all your energy and your focus, your mental, whatever, on basically just winning that fight. The end game is basically to win. Winning solves, as I've heard from someone else, winning solves everything. Guys, welcome back to another episode of the Ojiako podcast, and hope you're all well. So UFC Vegas 22. From what I could see, the main card was pretty stacked. At least when I saw the fights afterwards, anyway. So the first up was the main event: Derek Brunson versus Kevin Holland of the men's middleweight division. So I think one of the big factors that people saw in this fight is that Kevin Holland basically just kept on talking and basically just kept on running his mouth out. He just wouldn't shut up, basically. People are saying, many people in the mixed martial arts community, other podcasts, everywhere, they're all saying that, one of the biggest reasons probably why he lost this fight, basically, is that, he was just talking too much. Even the breaks, Khabib Nurmagomedov actually attended the fight, was sitting cage side next to Dana White, and he was watching the fight. During the breaks, Kevin Holland would be on his thing with his corner. Would be with his corner during the break, and would just be talking to Khabib, just talking sorts of shit and whatever. I mean, in the fight also you could see that he was talking, and after the fight, the guy was on his Twitter. He posted a video on Twitter or Instagram saying, basically I've been hit a few times, didn't win the fight. Although he didn't win the fight, basically, and is he going to stop talking? No, he's not going to stop talking. And it's something that he's known for in all of his fights. And I think for the past 5 or 6 fights, he's actually won each one. So he's been like on a winning streak up until now, for now anyway, whereby he lost against Derek Brunson. And as I've been hearing from other people in the industry, he's been enjoying so much success up until this point that basically he's now becoming so cocky and arrogant that he believes that he'll win anyway. And even seeing just at the end of the fight, whereby Bruce Buffer was just announcing who the winner is of the fight, and then he could see that automatically. It was a bit like the PTN situation with Aljamain Sterling at UFC Vegas 259 or so. But even before the winner was announced, he thought he'd won the fight, but that wasn't the case at all. It was Derek Brunson, who really, congratulations, he won, but just credit to him throughout the whole fight. He just didn't say anything, say much, just concentrating on attacking his opponent, playing the game well, and coming out as the winner, as the successor, as the better fighter, basically. And with this guy, Kevin Holland, it's quite annoying to see certain fighters do this. I remember Conor McGregor did the same thing to Dustin Poirier back at UFC 178. I think it was like taunting the guy whilst in the cage in the octagon there. And he won that fight. But of course, fast forward to 2021 UFC 257, that was not the case. Overall, the fight, there was a lot of ground game, a lot of wrestling. Brunson did show a very good ground game, and I think in the first round, after getting Holland down, he managed to keep him there. Although Kevin Holland didn't make it easy for him, so Brunson was kind of struggling to control Holland while he had him on the ground, and was just kind of struggling to dish out some good strikes or elbows. And he won the fight by unanimous. He won the fight via unanimous decision. But in this fight, I hadn't even seen the fight actually because I was just going for a morning walk, and it was just until I was listening to one of the podcasts. I can't really remember the name, but I was listening to one of the podcasts, and it's only there that they actually were talking about the fight, and they said that the guy just kept on talking, talking, and I have to say that for me, if I was in the cage there with him as a professional fighter who is trained up to that elite level of mixed martial arts, of course I'm just saying supposedly if I was, but I'm not. I'm still far away from that. If I was Derek Brunson, I would be just because it would feel like the opponent's taunting me. I'll be saying to myself, I must beat this guy, beat this person, and I must come out of this fight as the successor, as the winner. So that would urge me even more to just beat the crap out of this person as best as I can do. After that was the welterweight division, Max Griffin versus Son Keenan. Now these two guys, I think it did. Was it one of those fights that it finished in the first round? So anyway, yeah, I did check one of Son Keenan's fights in one of his previous competitions, and one of the things that the commentators said, I think, was it Joe Rogan or Michael Bisping, said that he is a pretty, physically he's a very strong guy. But the fight started off strongly. Both guys were really throwing strikes and really getting into it. Griffin did look like he was did appear to be like just going straight for his opponent, which is what I do like to see. That like other fighters, they corner their opponent. They're not very evasive. They just go straight for the kill and attack them as much as possible. They're just trying to get the upper hand as quickly as possible. Eventually, it did seem like he had cornered Keenan at one point, but Keenan was can I say somewhat evasive. And not long before the finish, Griffin had checked. I wrote some of this down just because there's a lot of things I wanted to put into this podcast. At one point, I think Griffin did check some of the kicks coming from Keenan, and Keenan did lose his balance. That did give Griffin the opportunity to just move in to land some heavy strikes, including that really heavy KO that won him the fight. So moving on. Again, this is one of those situations whereby some fights actually were shown in full on YouTube, not exactly so clearly, but more or less like the highlights. UFC Fight Pass does this bullshit thing whereby they will not show you the fight, especially the main event fights, main event and co-main event fights, until probably about 2 or 3 days have passed. After that was the women's strawweight division, which was Montserrat Ruiz Conejo versus Cheyenne Bays or Baez. So I can't. When I was looking at just checking one of her fights, and I think this was supposed to be a debut fight into the UFC. I was just looking at one of her older fights in is it Tough Enough or something like that. It was pronounced by one of the commentators. It was pronounced Bays, but her name is spelled B-U-Y-S. So I'm assuming that U is spelled like pronounced almost like an A. But anyway, the fight did start off strong between the two ladies and between the two fighters. Let me put it that way. Ruiz, or should I say Conejo, which was a bit easier for me to pronounce. She did get her opponent into a clinch, and then eventually that transformed or transgressed into a takedown. Conejo had whilst on the floor, Conejo did have Bays in a headlock, and in every round, the first round, second round, but maybe not so much the third round, when Conejo had Bates had her in just had taken her down in a takedown. In each of those three occasions, in each of those three rounds, she had her opponent's body just basically in the same position on the floor, and her Bates' head were basically locked in Conejo's arm, almost like a headlock, but you got your opponent on the floor. And whilst she had her opponent on the floor, and each time that she did this, in each and every of the 3 rounds, she was elbowing and punching her opponent's head, and it was crazy. And I think these two ladies do have some bad blood between them. I think something happened towards the end of the fight, and they did exchange a few words, and the war was audible over the microphone as far as the video was concerned. I think not Conejo, but Bates was did say something along the lines of, "I'll follow you home, bitch." I wish I heard the full altercation, but this is what the mic picks up, so I'm assuming that what happened towards the end, Bates wasn't too happy about it. But Conejo won by unanimous decision. I always getting so tongue-tied and tongue-twisted. After that, it was the Adrian Yanez versus Gustavo Lopez, the men's bantamweight division. I remember seeing Gustavo Lopez's fight in. I can't remember the name of the fighting promotion that he was in when I saw one of his older fights, but at one point, I think it's the first or second round, he just finished the fight off with just a clean knockout, just throwing strikes here and then boom, bam. Just got his opponent floored, dropped him, just like that, just with a clean KO. In this case, it wasn't so much the case. The opposite happened. So both guys are pacing back and forth, delivering strikes here and that. When I say pacing back and forth, I'm sorry, but I just can't think of the terminology or the descriptive name you can use just to describe that sort of situation that's happening between two people when they're in that sort of competitive fighting stance. In the second round, which is where I was going to say that the whole thing ended in the second round, but no, it wasn't in the second round. It's actually the third round. Yanez did manage to get a heavy right hand in, and that briefly did floor his opponent. But by the third round, Yanez just landed the finishing heavy right hand, which that was the KO that knocked out Lopez cleanly, and he won by KO. Moving on was Tai Tuivasa versus Harry Hansaka, the heavyweight division. So the fight started quite strongly. The fast counter striking from Hansaka. Just looking at that, I thought, okay, he could potentially be the winner. But that wasn't necessarily the case. His opponent Tuivasa changed things very quickly, and just those leg kicks did help him just kind of get to where he needed to be to just finish the fight basically. So there was a leg kick that he threw towards Hansaka that really hurt his opponent, and that caused him not to fall but to wobble, and to run to just finish the fight with what looked like two heavy right hands, and he won by a run via TKO. And this fight didn't even reach half of the first round, 49 seconds of the first round. So that was pretty impressive for Tuivasa. Have I covered all the fights? Yeah, I think I have. Okay, guys. Sorry, I don't look like I'm cheating or anything, but it's just that's where I made all my notes. Yeah. Okay, so moving on. Again, many people have been reacting to Derek Brunson's win. Congratulations to him, and many people also reacting to how Kevin lost this fight. I can't. There were lots of tweets from a lot of big names in mixed martial arts, especially a lot of the still active fighters. Many people congratulating Derek Brunson, and a lot of people saying to Kevin Holland. So I think one person said that the whole thing for Kevin Holland was like just like a joke show, basically just like something not to take seriously, because Kevin Holland was just talking and just concentrating and talking and joking and talking in that in that fight. I'm gonna talk about what Dana White said about the whole thing, because it's just so ridiculous. But many people have been saying that and that Kevin Holland just talks way too much during a fight, and that he likes to joke with his opponent while he's in the octagon. That's something he needs to stop, because it's irritating, and it's not good. It's not really a good look for him. He lost this fight. He didn't win. He lost. So overall, just the fact that he lost the fight speaks a lot of volumes negatively for him. Now Dana White did weigh in, and he said that, and this is something which I'm going to ask people, the viewers on YouTube and those who are listening on Spotify, Apple and Google Podcasts, on SoundCloud, do you agree with the statement? Because Dana White believes that the reason why Kevin Holland was talking, just running his mouth in that octagon while he was fighting his opponent, was because he was having a mental breakdown. I think that this is from Dana White, quote unquote. I think that was a mental breakdown. The only other thing I saw like it was in boxing when Lennox Lewis, that guy, it was in boxing when Lennox Lewis, that guy Oliver McCall, who kept his hands at his sides and was crying. I don't know what he was doing. I think he might have been able to handle the pressure and just broke mentally. I haven't seen anything like that. Now, if you had a mental breakdown, okay, first of all, he shouldn't have been talking while in that sort of situation. You should be concentrating all your energy, your physical energy, your mental energy on beating your opponent, not on talking. Just talking your opponent, talking randomly, running your mouth, even to someone else outside the octagon that has nothing to do with the fight. That's basically just a spectator, a member of the audience, just merely watching the fight. You're not even one of their team members. So I'm just wondering, how can someone talking like that be? How can it be classed as a mental breakdown? I mean, if you broke down mentally, would you even be able to stand up and be talking like you are? Would you even be able to walk into the octagon even though you didn't win the fight, would you have even be able to walk into the octagon and fought like you did, even if you didn't win? So really, I don't know what Dana White's talking about. People may disagree with me, but I don't think Kevin Holland was suffering from a nervous or mental breakdown. That's just a lot of bullshit. And maybe I've not really read too much into Dana White and Kevin Holland, whether they have whether they're on good terms or bad terms, or even if Kevin Holland is one of Dana White's golden boys. But this Dana White's comment just does sound like a silly, really, really silly excuse, a nervous or mental breakdown, whatever you want to call it. That didn't look like a mental breakdown to me. That just looked like someone's just getting too cocky, too arrogant, and probably, it's too cocky, too arrogant, probably just believing in their own hype and being overconfident because he didn't win this fight, he lost this fight, so he's going to have to go back to the drawing board. I'm just picturing in my mind that video he posted on his Instagram or his Twitter, whatever, saying basically that he's never going to stop talking, never ever. So, deuces, something like that. Yeah, Dana White, I disagree with you. I don't think that your fighter was suffering from a nervous breakdown or from a mental breakdown. I think it was just being too cocky and believing his own hype, and he lost. Moving on. So Khabib has officially retired from MMA. I think what really confirms it for everybody is that now Dana White and the UFC have finally scheduled the fight between Charles Oliveira and Michael Chandler, which will be taking place at UFC 262 on May 15th of 2021. So on the flip side, that does mean that Khabib has vacated his title as being champion of the lightweight division, and so that does pave the way for a new successor to step into that place, or to replace him. So that does mean that Michael Chandler and Charles Oliveira will fight for that championship belt. But still staying on the Khabib point, when he was interviewed, a lot of the things that he said to the interviewer, has actually been more or less echoed and been repeated by his teammates from AKA. He did say that one of the reasons he's retired from the sport is because of the relationship he has with his mother. He does believe that every time he competes at an event, when he fights, or whenever he's training. Sorry, I keep getting so tongue twisted. It's fucking annoying. Whenever he competes, whenever he's training at a training camp, wherever he is in the world, he feels or he sees that it does affect his mom in some way. She just probably doesn't like him fighting, and probably what's added to that is that his father is no longer with him, and there's the obvious points as well. He's regarded as one of the best mixed martial arts fighters of all time in the world. He's the number one pound for pound. He's world champion. He's defended his title several times, 3 times, and he's won the biggest fight in the UFC history. So it's like, he's even acknowledged it himself. He admitted it himself. He has basically done it all, and the only excuse he can think of, and I agree with him, many people agree with him, is that if he were to stay on, the only excuse he can think of, any reason he can think of for staying on is just earning more money. And given how well he has done this, but his record is 29-0, hasn't lost a single fight. Although, he hasn't lost. I'm not gonna. I'm thinking of something. Another point to say, and it's something that Charlie told me some time ago. He'll probably know what it is if he watches this. If he watches this, his record is 29-0. He hasn't lost a single fight, and because of his fighting record, his fighting style, he's entertaining to watch. Whenever he's going to be scheduled to fight anyone within this organization, it always brings in the pay-per-views, and a lot of people want to see him fight. So really, the only thing, he's done it all. So the only excuse for him to stay in the game in MMA will be just to earn more money. So moving on from that point to the next point, which was Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler. Since Khabib will be vacating the championship belt of the lightweight division, it means that this fight is going to be going ahead. As I said before, it's going to be taking place at UFC 262 on May 15th of this year, 2021. And so far what we know about Michael Chandler is that his debut into the UFC back at UFC 257 against Dan Hooker was very impressive. I saw the fight myself. Just the way he finished the fight. I think I'm assuming it's the first round within 2.5 minutes. Back at Bellator, where the organization he's coming out of and moving over from to the UFC. Bellator, he's held the title of the division that he's fought in, the lightweight division, several times. He's defended that title 3 times between 2011 and 2019. But some people, I was looking at the rankings roster for the UFC lightweight division, and at the top there's Dustin Poirier, and many people have said, well, I say many people, some people have said, those who have listened to, such as Ariel Helwani and DC, Daniel Cormier, they've said that, this is a good matchup to make, good fight to make, but they do feel that maybe it's a little bit unfair leaving Dustin Poirier out of the whole loop, because he is sitting at number 1 at the top, at the number 1 position in that weight division. And so they think that he should be given the opportunity to fight one of these guys, but he is actually more concerned about a trilogy fight with Conor McGregor. He's more concerned about the money fight, which is understandable, but I mean that's his choice. I mean, Charles Oliveira initially wants to fight Dustin Poirier for the title, but Dustin Poirier just didn't have any interest. He wants to fight Conor McGregor for a money fight, which makes sense. Conor McGregor will bring in the pay-per-views and they'll bring in the money as well. Many people want to see him fight, despite the fact that his last fight with Dustin Poirier was he lost it, but still he still does have that wow, that drawing in fact. So many people still tune in to watch him fight, including myself. So yeah, I'm not sure if there's anything else I've not covered. But so, God, I still, even making this this will be what, my 22nd podcast now. I still feel quite nervous making these shows, but either I need to take either I'm tired, or maybe I'm still not tipsy enough to make these shows. Maybe I need to make these shows earlier in the day, probably in the early evenings or so. But guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe. I wish I had someone else doing this podcast with me, because I know that it's far more entertaining for listeners, and it's far more entertaining for myself and for the other person to be having a conversation about the mixed martial arts world, as long as we're both passionate about it. And yeah, it's much more engaging. Especially if I'm talking with someone who knows a lot more about the sport than I do. I'm happy to talk with them because I learn a lot, and overall it's much more engaging experience for me, and it's much more entertaining for the listeners and for the viewers as well. I can see that other podcasts, podcasts are actually doing really well. For those that pertain to mixed martial arts, those that are doing really well usually have at least two people talking about the sport. If it's one person, such as Charles Sonnen, well, they can get away with that because Charles Sonnen is a it's a big name in mixed martial arts, and people respect his opinion on a lot of things in the mixed martial arts world. But for me, that is far from the case. It's not the case at all. So I know I still have a long way to go. But guys, just once more, if you did enjoy that, please don't forget to leave a like, don't forget to subscribe. You can follow me on Instagram and on Twitter. My name's Ojiako, and on Instagram my name's Ojiako1. On Facebook, my name's Ojiako, and Ojiako, and you can listen to my podcast on Spotify, SoundCloud, and Google Podcasts. The Apple Podcast, I'm saying this for the trillionth time now, it's becoming so annoying and actually sounding so pathetic even. Yes, not to talk myself down, but I'm just being honest, and that's what it feels like. It's still something I'm just still trying to get sorted out. But it's going to happen, guys. I'm going to make it happen. So yes, guys, take care, and thanks.